So me and Binky are up this morning and it snowed. There hasn't been as much as was expected, as the forecast said it was going to be pretty bad. But Binky's still quite happy to be out and about. Since snow was expected, I decided to be a bit nicer to my chickens, and I put them in the shed. So now it's time to catch them and put them back to where they belong outside. They probably didn't need to be inside, I just felt a bit bad. A bit soft. So I've got one in my hand, now to catch the little white one. I think they're both boys, but I'm not too sure. And now to catch Mummy Hen. She's pretty tame, she's quite a nice little hen. See there, Binky's super excited. So this is my little garden, my little paddock, and there's a little hen house. So I'm just going to put them back now. So in they go, nice and safely. Mummy hen, little white hen, and a little black one. So the snow arrived, but not as bad as some farmers have had it, so we've been pretty lucky. Over the years, the old boys have told me tales of the bad winters, how they've had to dig sheep out of snowdrifts and make tracks for them to walk through so they don't get stranded. So I've had a few restless nights worrying about the stock, and especially the hogs, as they are not at their best at the moment and are up at the rented grazing, which is higher, so may get the snow worse. So at the moment we have the flock split into 5 main flocks, being the hogs, gimmers, commercials and pures, all of which are females, and the 5th being the tuck lambs. So each flock needs to be checked, and no field is the same, so needs to be checked accordingly. I'm new at this job, as you all know, but every farm is different, as is every field upon every year. However, a shepherd gets to know their land and their stock. So the hogs are allowed to roam a vast area, foraging for food, but I can't help but relate them to teenagers, as they seem to hang around in 3 separate lots. The Riverside rebels have claimed the rough grazing down by the river. It's well sheltered by the hill and wood. The next lot are the Roundall ruffians. These hoggets like to stuff their faces with the silage available here. They rule the roost. And finally, the Gorsebush gang. They live on the hillside with shelter from the wood and gorse bushes. Also, a sign of where your sheep lie can be seen in the snow, which are the green patches, showing that these sheep have taken the sensible option of sheltering behind the wood. So that's my young stock, and I know where they hang out, so I know where to look for them in the snow. The next year group up are the gimmers. They live on a sloped field which has a wood and a tree line for shelter. These sheep are more familiar with hay and silage, so they know what it is, so tend to stay close to the roundals and mineral buckets. So when the roundals get near empty, the sheep leave the round bales looking like an eaten apple, with the core remaining. This is because the sheep can't quite reach the middle, so you have to push the remaining bale over so the sheep can get to it and eat it. I love seeing this, the sheep running up the hill through the snow, a sign that they are fit. With a little help from Binky, of course. The commercials and pures are grazing what we call the moors. This ground is rough, rushy and wet, but well sheltered. It is less nutritious grazing, causing the sheep to forage as they are selective grazers. So they will select the tastier grass varieties over the poorer. So this foraging causes the ewes to put in some good old pedometer miles, but this hopefully keeps the sheep's feet good and keeps their fitness up for lambing. The tuck lambs are a bit more of a worry, as they like to shelter in a row of gorse bushes. Great for them, but the worry comes if the snow falls whilst the wind blows, which could cause drifts and potentially bury the tups. But thankfully, I know where they lie, so I can keep an eye on them. And more thankfully, the snow hasn't been that bad. The tuck lambs also have a bale during this snow. So tips if you don't know where your stock lie is to follow tracks, if they are visible. So these will lead you to your sheep. Also, if you yourself are ever lost to where to go on unfamiliar land, follow sheep tracks. They are guaranteed to lead you to food, water or a gateway. To make it easier on the sheep, I follow these tracks with the bike tyres, making the sheep tracks more pronounced and easier for the sheep to travel on, and creating a network of tracks from shelter to food to water, etc. When we have this many sheep, we don't count them every day, or at all really, unless they are run through the sheep pens. So I wouldn't realise if I was missing some. Also, we've seen how well the sheep blend with their environment, so I wouldn't realise a dead or ill sheep either, unless I stumbled upon it. Unless I'm a bad shepherd, of course. So I have a set route around each field which allows me to see most of the stocked area, avoiding bogs, ditches and random holes in the ground. But not every inch of such moors are checked every day. Therefore, I like to have the dogs roaming around, as they will sniff out ill or dead sheep for me. Very helpful, as long as they don't get too distracted by wildlife smells, foos. So a job when feeding silage or hay is to keep moving the roundels when they're empty. So I move them onto a clean, dry if possible, patch to stop the build-up of disease and reduce mud and general slobber building up, to try and keep the sheep's feet right. It is also important to move them because silage goes bad if left too long and not eaten. A disease called listeria can then affect the sheep if they eat this bad silage. So by moving the roundels, the sheep can get more access to the silage without the roundel barrier. So gobble it all up. As if you just put a fresh bale on top of this leftover bale, it would just get worse and worse, increasing the risk of listeria to the ewes. But don't move the roundel until basically all the silage is eaten, as once the barrier is taken away, the sheep will trample it and contaminate it with mud, which also increases the risk of listeria. So I will explain this more in another YouTube. Another advantage of moving the roundels is the hope that the sheep are improving the fertility and productivity of the land. As my boss's father keeps telling me, SHIT makes the grass grow. Fact of life. So even though the snow is around and there is plenty of moisture about, it is still important to ensure that the sheep have access to water that's not frozen. So make tracks to the water sources, whether they be streams or water troughs, and break the ice so they can drink. So that's what we do to ensure our sheepies are content in the snow. Snow causes more work and effort to allow us to do basic shepherding jobs. It's pretty depressing and cold to work in, and causes worry over how the sheep are coping. So in my view, snow is a no-no.